Sometimes we are so driven towards our objectives, so driven toward our career goals that we forget to take care of ourselves. Sometimes it catch up with us because when you are too stressed, when you get to burnout, you actually take a lot of steps back because you are not able to walk anymore. You lose the momentum. And it happened to me a few months ago. I was not listening to my body. I was not listening to my stress. And what happened is I got stopped on my tracks and I had to take 2 months off. This is a really difficult situation, especially when you are driven because you find yourself when you cannot walk towards your goal anymore. So you feel like you are actually failing and you feel like you are taking a lot of months or even years being late on your goal. So I found that it's so important to manage your stress. It's so important to make sure that you don't get to burnout. It's so important that you strive towards your goals while managing that stress because it's so important to be always 100% if you have ambitious goals. And that's what I'm going to talk to you today about. I'm going to talk to you about 5 lessons that I learned. How can you manage stress so that you are aiming for that top performance that you want? My name is Arthur, and this channel is for Africans, Afro descendants around the world who are ambitious, rising towards excellence in their careers so that they can experience more growth, more influence, more impact. And so if it's you, if you want to create that top performance career for yourself, this channel is for you. You are the right place. And I want to invite you to do 2 things. First, subscribe to this channel. And second, hit the clock, the notification clock, so that you can receive every content that I'm publishing every single week, because I'm so passionate about seeing a rising community of industry leaders that will be leading the community around the world, but also that will be very helpful for Africa later on. I'm going to touch it about another video, but stay tuned for this video. So 5 lessons that I learned in managing stress. But before we get into the lessons, first you need to understand that stress is so damaging at many different levels. The first level is your health. Your immune systems weakens. So when you're stressed out, especially in this period of pandemic, imagine when you're stressed out, you are more likely to be ill, you are more likely to be sick. So it's not good at all to not handling that stress and just go with it. Because I see a lot of people in their careers, for them it's normal to be stressed, and they're like, yeah, it's normal. I'm taking the stress, I'm strong. That's what I used to think. And it knocked me down. The second level, stress is so damaging in the fact that it makes you having a poor performance. So you might actually not getting the results. You might actually, get to the point where you get fired because you are so stressed and you're not able to deliver if you don't manage that stress. So the bad stress, that stress that is coming up, I'm not talking about excitement, I'm talking about stress. That stress needs to be managed, needs to be reduced at the maximum so that you are 100% and delivering 100% on what you want and getting to your objectives. So how do you manage that? Those 5 things are so important. And the last thing is even the most important, so stay till the end. So the first thing that I learned is you have to get centered every single day. That's the first lesson I learned, how to manage stress. The first key, get centered every single day on what is important to you, because there's so many factors that can stress you out when you are working hard towards your goals. Like me, the way I'm doing it, how do I get centered? For example, I do meditation now every single day. And I also do gratitude, which means when I meditate, what's happening is like I'm centering my mind, right? And so I'm basically flushing out all the things that I'm seeing on social media, that I'm seeing on TV, because all that is stressing you out, even though it's unconscious. So when you get centered around meditation, what you're doing is basically you're centering your mind and your body And so the body and the mind start just focusing on what's important for you. Is it your goals? Is it your family? What matters? Another way to be centered is prayers, right? I also pray. Prayers is also another way to be centered. Like if you pray, it gets you calm. You start your day by getting on what is important for you, right? Is it like sending love to people? Is it your goals? Is it what are you going to do during that day? Get centered. It's so important. Some people do yoga. There are different ways to get centered. I talked to you about mine, right? It's meditation, gratitude. What am I grateful for my life? And also I look at, okay, what is important for me during that time? What is important for me today? What goals I want to achieve? I get centered. I get clear on why I want to go. I flush out all that noise. There's so much noise coming from everywhere. It's so important. That reduces the stress because you know what's important for you. That's the first key lesson that I learned. The second key lesson that I learned is create structure during your day. Create structure. What does it mean? It means that you have to be clear on what you want to do during that day. So mark every task that you want to do in your calendar. And that's a way to be structured so that you know in advance what you're going to be doing. So you don't stress out on how am I going to be handling this? I have this objective, how am I going to do it? You create that structure. So you create the objective that you want to achieve and what you're going to do and when you're going to do it in your calendar. Ideally, you do it even weekly so that you understand where you're going and you don't stress out on how am I going to achieve my objectives. And also, if you have specific tasks that are stressing you out, like let's say you have a presentation coming up in 2 weeks and you are stressed out because it's an important presentation, maybe it's a sales presentation, maybe that presentation will give you the promotion or will give you a pay rise, then you work on that and you identify the task, exactly the task that you need to do so that you complete that successfully and you plan those tasks in advance. That will reduce the stress that you have about that event. So that was the second thing, create structure in your day, in your life. The third thing I want to share with you is you have to move your body. Exercise. Find a way to move your body, to circulate the blood in yourself because that helps reduce stress. Exercise is a good way to reduce stress. Myself, I had stopped playing basketball and I resumed playing basketball because I realized that I got burned out because I wasn't playing basketball. I wasn't having fun. I wasn't doing exercise that was making me happy. Find your way to exercise, or maybe for you it's like going to Zumba, or maybe it's just dancing for you, or maybe it's singing, right? But singing like energetically. Maybe it's walking for you if you just want to walk. Maybe it's running, but find ways, move your body. It's so important to like have physical activities, activities that help you reduce the stress and help your body just release the tension. It's so important. Find your way. Exercise, lifting weights, running, walking, whatever is good for you, but do it and do it regularly. Then the fourth thing I want to share with you is sometimes you do the first three and you realize that you're still very stressed out. That's probably because there are specific stressors in your life. Maybe it's your boss, maybe it's the job that is stressing you out with the deadlines, with the targets. Maybe it's at home that you have a difficult relationship at the time with your husband or your wife and it's stressing you out during the day. Maybe the kids, because the kids are lagging behind, or the kids at a specific age, sometimes they are very, very grumpy. Like myself, I have 2 kids and my little kid is very grumpy at the time. So it's very difficult. He's crying all the time. We're trying to, to take care of him as best as we can, but he's crying and we have to deal with that. We have to accept it. So it's stressing me out as well. So you have to identify those stressors in your life and put in place a strategy to remove them, a specific strategy to remove them so that they will not affect you that much and it will reduce the stress that you are experiencing. It's so important to identify those and to have a clear strategy and to implement that strategy. It will help you tremendously. And the last thing that I